Is my screen is properly shared with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much. First of all, I'm very much thankful to the management of SP College, Pune, the coordinator of today's workshop, and all my dear students for giving me an opportunity to share with you some insight based upon my little knowledge related to how to write a research paper. So, my dear friend, this session is very much important. Why? Because the research means what? Which is not known to anyone at that particular instant. That means whatever known in the universe will not at all will be considered as a research. And that is nothing but, yes, we need to add something additional. We need to turn and twist that particular already available knowledge in a such a fashion that there will be something extra additional outcome we are about to enjoy. So this is nothing but, first of all, the outcome of the research, that to have the good teachers in a society, to have a good administrator in the society, to have the good social workers in the society, there is a need of good researcher. My dear friend, try to understand or try to imagine the world of the space, the Indian Space Research Organization, without the Honorable late APJ Abdul Kalam Sahab, or yes, the current ISRO scientists, those who are working hard for the space technology. So my dear friend, without having the good researcher, we can't just supposed to create the good society in nutshell. And that is the significance or the importance of the research. When we are talking about the, yes, basic requirement of the research, what do you think? What should be the basic requirement? What will be the basic requirement? So when we are talking about this, any work without vision or without mission is said to be the improper planned work. My dear friend, there is one beautiful quote by Vishwas Nangre Patil sir, that if you fail to plan, you are planning for your own failure. And that is the reason whenever we are going for the research, we must have some objective in our mind. And that objective should be having some, what we can say, sense of responsibility, whether adequate resources are available with me, whether I am having the optimal methodology to of that particular objective, what will be the probable outcome of this particular work, and that is nothing but the objective. At the time of defining the objective of the research, it is much important phenomena, we can say, under the basic requirement of the research. Second very much important parameter is nothing but the time management. Now try to understand the situation during the COVID pandemic. If the vaccine has not been generated till today, then what might be the scenario? So that will be what we can say, that will be the worst scenario we might be suffering through. But the researcher, the what we can say, the medical sector, the team from the medical sector rather, they did the fabulous work in terms of the research, and it is added with the time management. So my dear friend, while going for the research, always keep into mind that the research should have some time constraint. It should have some time frame. It is not like that we are about to get some extension in this particular course, so we have to go for the extension. There should be the time management, there should be the time limit, time frame, because learning is the continual process. Whatever we are about to emerge through our study in terms of the research will be definitely overcome with some laggings, with some additional, what we can say, the essence by the next researcher. So there is always scope, the future scope for the other researcher. So always try to plan the research with some typical time management system. The third one, the very important parameter, that is nothing but the ethics. My dear friend, why we are referring the IS codes, why we are going with the some standards, why we are purchasing something okay with having some hallmark. So suppose we are talking about purchasing of the gold, we are interested to look into the hallmark. When we are going for some standards, we are referring to some IS standard, international standard. My dear friend, why we are going with that? Because we are in need of some uniformity, we are in need of some culture, some ethics, some principle or the values we have to keep. And that is the reason, as an ethical person, we supposed to have the honesty. That means we not supposed to, that means there should not be any chaos, or there should not be any ambiguity in our mind that research means what? Copying and pasting something with use of the paraphraser, with the use of some AI based tools. That is not at all the honesty of the researcher. Research means what? There should be some definite objective. There should be some unique methodology associated with it. There should be some work from your end which is novel in nature, which is innovative in pattern, and that's supposed to be, yes, published with some typical, what we can say, the legal aspects, and that publication should be accepted by the scientific society. Then only we can say that we have did something honestly. And my dear friend, the honesty is related to this particular terminology. That means only just packing the old, what we can say, ornament into the new package is not the research. It is nothing but the cheating. So the honesty is very important parameter, or rather the basic requirement of any sort of research we supposed to conduct. Next one, the devotion. My dear friend, in the words of this particular three beautiful word, Ph.D, the patients are highly, what we can say, important. At the same time, the D stands for the devotion. So H stands for honesty, okay, D stands for devotion, and P is nothing but the person who will be, what we can say, observed, who will be identified based upon the honesty and the devotion. So always do remember, there is no one can claim that I am only 70% honest. When we are talking about the honesty, it should be the 0% or 100%. In between, anything will be treated as a zero. So always do remember, we supposed to be very honest, we supposed to be very dedicated till the, yes, time we are about to appear for the defense. Why? Because that devotion will let the audience know about your work. If you found that on the day of the, yes, defending your, yes, PhD, at that time also, if anyone just published any beautiful research article with the same methodology you were working on, and he was stating something about positive or the negative aspect of that particular research, you have to cite, you have to refer, you have to give the proper respect to that particular outcome as it is published research article, and that is what called as devotion. And so always do remember, literature review in this particular process of the research will be the continual process, and it will last till the time you are about to appear for the defense. So literature survey, literature review, this particular process should be long lasting up to the date of defense, because till that particular point you must be well aware that what is happening in society, what sort of research has been going on, what sort of research is available for citation, everything you need to know, and that is what called as devotion. At the end, we can say that the knowledge of advanced technology is one of the basic requirement of research. My dear friend, you are only aware about the Microsoft Word, if you are only aware about the Microsoft Excel, and yes, what we can say, PowerPoint presentation, that is not enough nowadays to just observe or to just go for the research or the PhD work. And that is the reason, when we are representing any domain, say suppose I am from the civil engineering domain, you are from the geography background, at that time you must be well aware about the advanced technology, how the remote sensing, geospatial technology are playing the crucial role in the studying of geography. And so we must be well aware about the advanced technology, the tools, techniques, then what we can say, the instruments, equipment, everything supposed to be utilized while going for the research. So whenever possible, whenever it is feasible, you supposed to opt with the advanced technology, and that is what the basic requirement of the research. So when we are talking about this, how to define a research, because this is very gray area. Whenever anyone appears for the PhD, okay, the very ultimate aim was to have the entry into the teaching field, or to just get absorbed very easily with the high or the good perks at the corporate level. That might be the one of the basic objective, and that's supposed to be. But always do remember, whenever we are thinking for the high perks, whenever we are thinking for the higher end monetary benefits, always do remember, your presence should be, what we can say, enjoyed by all the surrounding, yes, organization, the entities, or we can say the work task force. Whenever you are not supposed to be get missed in a team, that means you are none of anyone's business. And that is the reason we must be well aware about the definition under the research. So how to define the research? There are many bookish language, or what we can say bookish definitions are there. The very first is research is any original and systematic investigation. As we are utilizing the word research, research means what? Searching something means what? Investigating something. But my friends, it's supposed to be in some novel way. It's supposed to have some typical systematic approach. Now try to understand the servicing of the bike. Everyone is utilizing the bike. Whenever we are talking about the servicing of the bike, that particular, what we can say, the fellow, the mechanic is supposed to remove the parts or equipment instrument, yes, fixed inside the mechanism or the motor in a such a way that the assembly and disassembly will be with some systematic approach. He will fix the things which has been removed at last in very first attempt. Why? Because that is what the systematic approach to fix the things in a proper way. So in research also, whenever we are talking about the research, investigating something means what? There should be some laws, there should be some standard, there should be some universally accepted methodology, and that we need to follow. So whenever we are defining something under research, we must be well aware, we must be equipped with such a sort of standard documentation. We must be in engineering definition, we can say every student must have the IS code, steel table. So sort of things, sort of what we can say Bible, Quran or Bhagavad Gita, sort of, yes, novels, we must be well equipped with. And that is what the need of time. And when we are talking about the systematic investigation undertaken, in order to, why we are interested? To increase the knowledge. Yes, increase the knowledge. About whom we are talking? We are talking about the good teachers. We are talking about the good administrator. We are talking about the good social worker. In nutshell, we are talking about the every single entity from a society. So my dear friend, increase in the knowledge means what? There are four beautiful words: knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. So whenever we are talking about these particular four words, always do remember knowledge should be increased by your input through your studies. Second one, understanding, and there should be increase in knowledge as well as in understanding. Understanding means what? Many a times we are following only the methodology. We are not get involved 100% into it, and that is the reason we are getting the, yes, desired outcome. We are getting the desired result, but we are unaware about actual happening inside that particular process. So there should be the increase in knowledge. That might be 0.001% as well. There should be the increase in understanding in terms of the methodology we are opting, and to establish the facts and principle. My dear friend, whenever you are talking about something which is materialistic, which is tangible, which is unknown to the society till that particular time, that should be have some typical establishment in terms of variables, non-variables, in terms of the properties, physical, mechanical, chemical, whatever the properties, but that should be based upon the scientific principles, and that is what the definition of the research. So do always remember, in research there should be the systematic investigation. Means what? If anyone just fell down from the motorbike and supposed to reach to the doctor for the next procedure related to the, yes, what we can say badly bleeding due to that injury, the very first thing is related to removal of the hair. And doctor never ever says that you have to go to the, yes, what we can say salon, you have to remove the hairs and come back to me, then I will go for the surgery. He will do that particular activity at his own, and that is what we are interested in. Systematic investigation, systematic implementation means what? Every procedure, every single procedure should be covered, should be did from your end only, and that is what the meaning of the research. And that is the reason in the PhD we have to do each and everything at our own. Okay, there should not be help from anyone else, because if you are doing with that particular helping hand approach, then you will be supposed to be get stuck in between when he or she will be not available for you. And that is the reason in research we are interested in just following some scientific principles. Now, next one, the object of research is to extend the human knowledge beyond what is already known. Now, when we are representing any area, that area is definitely having some typical, what we can say, the phenomena, basic fundamentals. Say suppose I'm talking about the ceiling fan. Ceiling fan with the 3 blades will give me some typical, what we can say, air availability. The circulation of the air with the 3 blades will be definitely with some typical quantum. If I am supposed to plan to just exchange, replace that particular 3 blade ceiling fan with the 4 blade one, definitely I am about to enjoy the additional air and I am supposed to get soothed with that particular implementation. But this is but obvious, as the 3 blade ceiling fan just allowing me to enjoy some typical air quantum. If I'm adding the additional blades, I'm about to enjoy the additional air. This is obvious one. That is not at all research. And so whatever already known, to that particular known facts, we have to add something. Okay, take simple example of the vehicle CC. Earlier, the vehicle CCs were 97, 100 cc, 200 cc, 350 cc, 500 cc. Okay, Maruti 800 is having only 800 cc engine, and nowadays Bullet is having 350 cc engine. So what does it mean? It is obvious that with the capacity of the engine, we can able to enjoy the power. And so when we are talking about the research, that should not be the obvious one की जे आहे त्याच्यातच addition deletion करून चालत नाही. There should be some innovation. There should be some, what we can say, the good practice that is not known to the common public or the society before that particular instant. Next one, at the end, we can define the research in this particular way. First of all, in research, definitely there is investigation. Always do remember, we have to investigate something. Whenever we are investigating something means what? For that investigation, and out of that investigation, whatever is about to happen, that we need to study. And the second word important related to the research work is the study. When we are talking about that, whenever we are carrying out some work, it should be examined. It should be examined against some basic parameters, some, what we can say, the standards, some typical norms, some government rules and regulation, some, what we can say, statutory things. And so the examination of your work is very much important. Many a times, according to the type of the research, there is a requirement for going for experimentation. So experiment is one of the integral part of the research. When we are trying to research means what? We are exploring something with the new dimension, with the new methodology, with the new technique, and that is what we are interested in. So research is nothing but the explore. Analyze. Always to remember, whatever the raw data you are having, it will never ever called information till it is get processed, and that's supposed to be get processed with some systematic approach, and that is nothing but the operation that I am about to observe is called as analysis. So the raw data, before get converted into the information, whether it has been processed with some systematic approach, is nothing but the analysis. The scrutinize means what? There are many samples we are experimenting. We have to scrutinize based upon the bars, the standards has been set by the basic fundamentals. And at the end, we are interested in consult systematically. So my dear friend, whenever we are generating, populating some new theory, new database, that's supposed to be examined, that's supposed to be appreciated, that's supposed to be scrutinized by the expert domain. And that is what, in nutshell, we can say the research is all about. Now, moving further, related to the fundamental types of research. My dear friend, why it is important to understand the types of research that we will see with one by one. Now, the very first point is nothing but the basic research. What do you think? Which type of research will be categorized as basic research? So, it is just the mere inquiry. It is just mere the investigation aimed at increasing the scientific knowledge. So, whatever we are understanding newly related to any parameter, related to any theory, related to any work already done, okay, in terms of the literature survey, additionally to our earlier knowledge is called as basic research. So it is nothing but the inquiry sort of investigating sort of research where we are trying to emphasize the scientific knowledge. Then next one is the applied research. My dear friend, when we can say the applied research, so when we are having some basic research related knowledge available with us, and if I'm able to apply it for solving complex problems. So what is basic research? It is nothing but remembering the tables of numericals. Say suppose the table of 2, table of 22, table of 222. So these are nothing but the basic research where it is already having some what we can say the correlation theory. So the table of 2, table of 3, table of 4. So during the schooling, whatever we have learned in terms of the mathematics, physics, chemistry is nothing but the basic research. But at the time of your higher education, 10th, 12th and higher education, whatever that learned methodologies, scientific rules, regulation you are utilizing for solving some complex problem is called as applied research. So when I'm able to remember the table of 13, when I'm able to utilize that table while I'm going for the squaring something with the 13 is called as solving that particular concern with the approach with the basic research. So the solving complex problem is nothing but one of the phase of the applied research. Second one, developing the new processes, system, products and techniques. So whatever I am aware about, basically if I am able to utilize it for solving some complex phenomena is called as applied research. So there are two types of research. There are many more, we will see one by one. So very first is basic one, second one is the applied one. When we are talking about the fundamental aims of research, okay, what should be the aim? Once you have finalized the objective of your study, why you are interested to go for the research, what will be your objective? There should be some vision and mission, and that vision and mission defining is nothing but defining the aims. So there are some typical set of aims for fundamental what we can say aims for research. So first one, establishing or confirming the existing facts. My dear friends, Newton invented the theory related to the gravitational force. During his experimentation, as he was just what we can say sat underneath the apple tree, he were only what we can say he gave the example related to the apple, that any falling object towards earth will be experienced by the gravitational forces. Now as this theory is already in existing, if we are reconfirming it, means what? It is nothing but the very first aim. Whether with that particular approach I am getting the similar result is nothing but the very first aim, that is establishing or confirming the existing fact. Alongside with that or without that, the second aim might be the reaffirm the results of the previous work. Say suppose someone has carried out one typical experiment at laboratory, but the supervisor, the faculty in charge is already aware that the fellow student is not at all honest, he is not at all dedicated, and he definitely made some mistake. And suppose the sincere fellow will be just instructed to go and repeat that particular process, repeat that particular experiment, then there might be the different results. And so to reaffirm the results of the previous work, if you are doing something, okay, that is nothing but one of the aim of the research. The third one, to solve the new or existing social problems. My dear friend, whenever we are moving, whenever we are roaming, okay, among the society, okay, at that time we must supposed to address some social concerns in line with your own expertise, your domain, your area of interest, and that is what the aim of a research. Next one, support, revise existing theorem and laws. You all might just enjoyed the movie Three Idiots, okay, where there were one typical project done by the senior student of the play cast of Amir Khan, who were thinking, who were planning to just fly the drone to capture the moments, to capture the photos, videos, and to just safeguard the society with its availability. My dear friend, that project was not at all completed, and just that particular fellow gave up. Okay, as he was badly, what we can say, scolded by the, yes, that particular professor in that movie. But Amir Khan worked on that particular project and just reaffirmed, confirmed, supported, revised. We can say the existing theorem was, yes, redefined. It is just followed with some basic scientific laws and rules and regulation, and he able to convert that failed project into the successful one. That should be what the aim of the research. The next one, develop new theories and the model, and that is what nothing but the high-end research. If you are developing new theories, if you are developing new models, means what, you are really doing a great job for society, for yourself itself. So that is what the fundamental aims of research. Now, the new, what we can say, there are some few research concepts that we have to, yes, understand. The very first is exploratory, second one is the market, third one is the operation, fourth one is the observation. We will go one by one. So exploratory means what? Many a times while moving on the road, if you got into a traffic and you are unaware why this much traffic is there, okay, in front of yours, you will definitely try to have chit chat with the nearby, what we can say, drivers or the companions, those who are enjoying the same route. So this is based upon conducting systematic literature reviews, talking to the people, collecting the data through the surveys, and focusing some target groups. If you are developing something for the tribes, if you are developing something for women, if you are developing something for the what we can say, the school going children's, you are targeting some sample. You are targeting some sample with some attributes of the parameters, and that is what the exploratory research is all about. My dear friend, the another concept related to the research is nothing but the market research. So when we are talking about the market research, we are worried about the various or the different category of the stakeholders involved in market. Everyone is worried about the rate analysis. Rate analysis means what? For any tangible materialistic thing, if you are exchanging it in terms of the monetary aspect, we are interested in understanding that feature with all aspect, and that is what the study of market. So under this particular study, we are interested to understand the psychology of the customer, we are interested to understand the behavior of the customer, we are interested to understand the market characteristics, whether it is affected by the seasons, whether it is affected by the weather condition, whether it is affected by the peak hours, whether it is affected by the holidays, whether it is affected by the weekends. So likewise, we are understanding the trends, and that is what the surveys, or what we can say, the survey of the market in terms of the market research. And so corporate sector is always giving the greater emphasis based upon this. When we are talking about the geography, when we are talking about the research related to geography, you can able to create such a models that the people, the what we can say, the shop owners will definitely try to opt with your model, the geographical and geospatial integrated model, to understand from where there is a greater demand, how to manage with the supply, how to just keep pace with the trend in changes in terms of the fashion, in terms of the, yes, what we can say, the designs, and that is what the market research is all about. My dear friend, the next one is the operation research. Now try to understand, there is one construction equipment, say JCB. It is having the shovel with which it is excavating the material. If the size of the shovel is the 3 cubic meter, and the tractor which is hauling that excavated material is having the capacity of the 1.5 cubic meter, then what will be the concern? The JCB will make the cut. It will able to excavate the material up to 3 cubic meter at a single instant, but the hauling equipment, the hauling vehicle, unable to just get all the excavated material, okay, unable to just, what we can say, haul all the excavated material in single cycle. So JCB unnecessarily make the, yes, what we can say, the excavation additional to the required one, or we can say the lesser than the required one. Okay, and that is the reason there should be the operation research. The vehicles in that particular cycles, or we can say the cycle time of filling or the refilling of the hauling equipment with the expected material. This cycle should be studied thoroughly in the operational research. So in nutshell, we can say the analysis of the problem is operational research. So in nutshell, we can say the analysis of the problem an industry involving construction and applications of quantitative mathematical models and programming is called as operation research. So mathematical models means what? 3 cubic meter, 1.5 cubic meter. It is always better to just allow the hauling equipment which is having the capacity just nearer to 3 cubic meter or more than that. Okay, so that in multiples of the 3 cubic meter, if the hauling equipment is having the capacity, then there will be the reduction in the cycle time. And so that might be the program, that might be well studied, so that the vehicles will make the necessary cut, it will expect the required material, and it will haul into the hauling equipment. So it is called as operation research, where we are talking about the cycle time, where we are talking about the circular engineering, where we are talking about the solution in such a fashion that all the stakeholders involved, all the what we can say parameter or the entities involved will be utilized after some typical time sets. Next one, the observational research. My dear friends, when we are talking about the observational research, generally what we're trying to understand is that what will be the impact of association, what will be impact of what we can say the removal of something out of that particular process. And so the researcher cannot control or manipulate the variables involved in a research. It is not always possible. There are some typical chemical composition, there are some typical chemical reaction, there are some typical mechanism or the processes where we don't have the 100% control, but we can only able to analyze naturally occurring relationship between them, and that is what is called as observational research. But cannot be established a cause and effect in between that relationship. So here in observational research, what we are doing, we are nurturing some plants, we are preparing for some what we can say some new seeds for the better production, for the quality outcome. So sort of things we can able to observe after setting some what we can say constraint environment for nurturing that particular thing. So this is nothing but the observational research. When we are talking about the next point, it is nothing but the experimental, quantitative and qualitative. My dear friend, experimental means what? Here we are having some upper hand to control some variable. What does it mean? If you are asked to prepare a tea, you can have the different combination of the material involved in preparation of the tea. You can go with the 1 glass of water, 1 glass of milk, 2 spoon of the sugar, 1 spoon of the tea. But if anyone else try to prepare the tea with the different what we can say the approach, the different we can say the proportion, he can go with the half glass of water, 1 glass of milk and sort of things. So here experimentally we are having the control in terms of setting some variables, and that will give me some predicted outcomes, and I am trying to observe whether I am getting the said outcomes at the end. And so we can able to fix some relationship, that might be the relationship in terms of the causes and happenings, it may be in terms of empirical relationship, and that is the reason experimental research is much important many a times. When we are talking about the quantitative research, here the main objective is nothing but it should be measurable, minimize the bias, means what, there should not be any chaos, demonstrate the reliability, validity and generalizability. So when we are talking about the quantitative research, many a times it is related to, say suppose I am talking about updating the database of the every citizen of the India regarding PAN, regarding Aadhaar card. So this sort of work is quantitative research. When we are talking about the qualitative research, it is very what we can say we are unable to measure it directly. Quality, these are nothing but some typical standard. If it is happening like that, we are saying that yes, it is yes as per the quality norms. Say suppose Sachin Tendulkar is playing a straight drive. Okay, so that particular thing we can't able to measure with some typical what we can say rules and regulation, but we can enjoy the process, we can enjoy that particular shot, and it is called under the quality okay work. So whenever there is a difficulty in measuring some typical parameters, whenever there is a bias inbuilt, but there is the what we can say possibility of the reflexivity, dependability, creditability, and transferability, we can say the work under the qualitative research. So there are some typical research. Now next one is the motivational research, mixed research, and analytical research. Motivational one means what? Many a times whenever there is a concern related to the collection of the toll at the toll plaza, many political parties employ their staffs to just count down the vehicle passing in a day, in an hour, in a what we can say the 6 hours, or we can say over the month, over the quarter, over the half year, over the year. Why? Because they are interested in the earning of the toll plazas. They are interested how they are working, whether they are working effectively, whether they are really collecting, whether they are really sharing the share with the government, and so on. And so it is called as motivational one. So application of the psychology to study the consumer behavior, especially in the planning of the advertising and the sales campaign, may be called as motivational research. Next one, the mixed research, the permutation and combination of the quantitative and qualitative research. The earlier one is called as mixed research, where we are worried about the Michael Schumacher. Okay, there is a permutation and combination. Though vehicle is having the high-end facility for just utilizing on the high-speed track, but the driver is one of the entity which will work, which will supposed to enjoy that permutation and combination, and which is called as mixed research. So this particular wrestling, or what we can say, whenever there is a technology which is handled or governed by the human being, sort of things will be studied with the approach called as mixed research. Next one, the analytical research. This research is a combination of the logic, mathematics, and the facilitates the strong computer programming. Analytical means what? Here we are thinking about the last 50 years rainfall data. Here we are thinking about the last 50-year discharge data, sedimentation data. Here we are thinking about the fold and faults, okay, those who are generated since last 3 decades earthquake, and likewise volcano eruption, tsunami. So whatever the natural phenomena are there, if I am collecting the database for the last 30 years, 50 years, and if I am able to just prepare some logical equation, the what we can say for understanding its impact on that particular process, then it is called as analytical one. So this is related to the types of research. Now what will be the sources of research problem? Many times researchers are having the concern related to the sources of research problem. My dear friend, from where we can get the problems? Yes, we are the first among them. The people, the individuals, they might be in group, they might be working for any organization, they might be from some typical communities. They are nothing but the very first source for finalizing our research statement or the problem statement. So the people, we all are worried, we all are aware rather regarding the problems, because the human being, the one who is able to speak, the one who is able to think, is nothing but the correct, what we can say, the is source of getting the maximum problems, because every human being is facing very different problems, and if they supposed to be get addressed properly, then there will be a miracle, everyone will be happy, and there will be a no concern related to the living. Next one is the problems. Many times we are facing problems. Say suppose in Pune we are daily facing the problem related to the traffic. In Pune nowadays we are facing the problem with the low-lying area which is get easily flooded. In Pune we are getting the concern related to the agricultural, we can say the crop or yield, agricultural yield rather, because the market is so much volatile that some vegetables are available, okay, seasonally, some are available, okay, overall all months, and still there is no proper planning related to the, yes, what we can say, demand and supply. So the problems, they might be called as issues, they might be out of the situation, they might be due to the associations, they might be related to the needs, wants, they might be related to the demography. So they might be the source of a research problem. So how to identify the research problem? The very first is the people, second one is the problem. So the two P's are already there. The third P is programs, the contents. Many a times, if we can able to change some ingredients out of some typical recipe, what will be the impact? So the content will decide the research problem. The next one, the structure, the outcome, the attributes, satisfaction, users or the consumer satisfaction. So the programs is another entity, we can say, from where we can able to understand the many problems. So always do remember, program is not the TV serials, these are not the movies, these are related to the whatever the attributes mentioned inside the table. Next, the fourth P is phenomena. My dear friend, the cause and the effect in terms of the relationship, the study of phenomena itself is nothing but one of the research problem. Okay, so many a times we are worried about the research problem, from where I supposed to get a research problem. It is not at all the duty and responsibility of the research supervisor, but it is the responsibility of the every individual in terms of the research scholar, that he is supposed to well aware about this particular phenomena, okay, the people, problem, program, phenomena, in a such a way that he can able to identify the problem for the research statement in a such a way that with the available knowledge from his own domain, he can able to resolve it. Okay, so these are nothing but the four P's we have to remember. Now, next one, research process, or we can say the steps inside the research. Now, before discussing it, just kindly allow me to just have a sip of water. Now, when we are talking about the research process, first of all, see the research methodology. Research methodology means what? I have already told you, there should be a systematic approach. So very first is formulation of the research problem. Okay. The second one, the creation of the research design. The third one, constructing instrument for the data collection. Fourth, selecting a sample. Fifth one, writing the research proposal or the research paper article. Then collecting the data, processing the data, and the writing the final report. So when we are talking about the PhD, these are nothing but the very important parameter. But at the end, my dear friend, it is your research article which is published in a reputed journals which will serve the purpose for your degree. And do always remember, when we are talking about the research, these are nothing but the various steps, but among this particular step, there are what we can say the midway in between. You can able to publish your work in a very innovative manner in a reputed journals, and that is what the need of the time. So when we are talking about the formulation of the research problem, you have to refer to the four P's. When we are talking about the creation of the research design, you have to think twice for the lacunas in available conventional system or the available literature. You have to think about the laggings, the lacunas in system. The third one, constructing instrument for the data collection. Nowadays, data collection is not that much difficult, but still we are in need of some good sample size. Say suppose for the 3 decades, say suppose for the 5 decades, and that is what we have to understand in advance. The way with which we have to collect the data, from where or the sources from where we are about to collect the data, that is what we are interested in. Next one, selecting a sample. My dear friend, this is a very beautiful and the important question we need to answer at the time of defense. Why you have selected this much sample size? And at any instant, we are supposed to be get trapped very easily. So the sample size and its selection should be well addressed by having the appropriate research design. Next one, the writing the research proposal. That is what the very initial or the beginning process. Collecting the data, processing the data, that is what the heart of the process. And at the end, whatever you have did, you have to represent, you have to share your finding with the society, whether it is accepted through the journal whether it is accepted through peer-reviewed journal in the online mode, then and then only it will be treated as the reputed research article. Now we will move to the next point so that we will start talking about the research paper writing. Now, evidence of research. Now, whenever you are doing something, that will be called as research if and only if it is peer-reviewed publication. If it is a peer-reviewed publication, if it has been processed through peer reviewing, and if it is published by that particular journal having some good, what we can say, faith in terms of the innovation, in terms of the novelty, then only your work will be recognized by everyone at international and national level. My dear friend, this is very much important parameter, because research will be accepted only when you are having the peer reviewed publication. The very first point. Second point, if you could able to convert your thesis in a book, then and then only that accepted book which is having ISBN will be considered as the evidence of your research. If you are unable to convert your thesis into a book, means what? You have did nothing during your PhD. And the third one, patents. My dear friend, this is one of the very important parameter we have to understand. Though we are standing at the 4th position in the GDP at international level, but the margin, or what we can say, the gap in between the US economy and Indian economy is having the tremendous gap into what we can say many trillion dollars difference, and that is what we supposed to feel, and that will be done with the very simple way, that is nothing but patenting something. Patenting something means what? Patent means IPR. It is related to intellectual property rights. As simple as it is, we are just purchasing the piece of land from person A, and it is get registered with the government authorities on the name of person B. This transaction is called as what we can say in terms of the land purchase, we can call it as it is nothing but the agreement for sale and deed. But when we are talking to sale, our intellectual what we can say the outcomes, our brain ideas, design concept, then it is supposed to be get registered with some government authorities, and that should be noted down on the standard piece of paper which is called as patent. It is very easy if it is novel, if it is not obvious, if it is what we can say the useful for the society, if it is not harmful for the society, then it will be supposed to be accepted by the government authority, and that is what called as patent. So this particular 3 outcome should be recognized you as a PhD candidate, as a doctorate candidate. So my dear friend, today we will discuss about the peer-reviewed publication regarding books and patents. If time permit, I would like to focus on it, but today's, as we are having the main interest related to the peer-reviewed journals, we will talk about it. Now, scientific research article provide a method for scientists to communicate with other scientists about the results of their research. Why it is required? If some scientist is working at France, if one scientist is working at Germany, you are working at India at Pune, and you 3 are working on same concept. Now you are not well known to anyone, okay, you are not knowing each other, then how one can able to understand that whether that particular work has been done, has been conducted, has been going on at any corner? So there should be this particular way of the communication. So language should not be the barrier. There will be a solution for the language, as one may know the only French, one may know only German, one may know only Marathi, but this particular 3 researcher will start working at common platform the day when among that particular 3, if anyone publishes any peer-reviewed research article in reputed journal, the remaining 2 will definitely try to just go through that particular research as a prior art, as a literature review, and that is what the communication or the language in between the various researchers. So scientific community will be able to communicate with each other by referring to their contribution to the society, and that is what today we are discussing. Now, if it wasn't published, it wasn't done. This was said, okay, in 1993 by E.H. Miller. What does it mean? If you are a researcher, if you are unable to publish a research paper, means what? You have did nothing during your research. You have did, or you have not contributed to the society, contributed to yourself, contributed to your institute or organization, and that is the reason we all have to publish minimum 4 peer-reviewed research article during our PhD. And it is very simple. It is very easy, my dear friend. It only required the honesty and dedication or devotion. This H and D are much important because you are from the very first part, that is P. P means what? People. And the people means what? Having some ethics. So always do remember, honesty and dedication will serve the purpose, and you can able to just what we can say, take out the minimum 4 peer-reviewed journals out of your research work. How? We will see in coming slide. So why to publish a research paper? The very first, if your research does not generate paper, it might just as well not have been done. So no one will recognize you. You are not able to get your degree, and though you are able to get your degree, but you will never ever gain the respect in scientific society. And that is the reason we have to publish the paper. So what is research paper? So what is research paper? When we are talking about the research paper, it is nothing but written and published report describing original research result. Very important, very simple to understand. Written means what? There should be the proper language, there should be the proper way to represent, there should be the least grammatical errors, there should be the proper utilization of punctuation, there should be the proper sharing of the drawings, design, photographs, graphs, whatever it may be. There should be the proper representation of the table, there should be the proper mathematical calculation, and that is what comes under the written. The second one, published report. What does it mean? Publication means what? It is not like that someone has called me and said, sir, I am ready with my paper, would you able to publish it for me? And if you are blindly believing in me, and if you are just transferring that particular paper to me and I am publishing it for you, that doesn't mean that it is get published, because the paper publication nowadays in a peer-reviewed journals, it is nothing but the online process. So online platform, you have to prepare, you have to register on that particular journal. How to search journal, that we will discuss. You have to register on that portal. You have to create the login and user ID and password. You have to access to that portal. You have to submit the paper with different tabs. At the end, it will populate one single PDF. You have to review it and you have to finally submit it to the peer reviewing. That peer reviewed research process will take at least 1.5 years to produce one quality research article in Q1. And that is the reason sir told me that I have to discuss with you the difference between Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And that is what the published report is all about. Describing the original research. Describing the original research. What does it mean? If some typical experimentation has been done, I have utilized the value like 80, 90, 20. I am about to replace that 80, 90, 20 by 82, 92 and 22. And I am generating some, what we can say, fictitious results out of that particular input value. That doesn't seem that it is a research. So a original research means what? Whatever the original outcomes you are getting out of experimentation, empirical study, theoretical study, that is nothing but the original research is all about. So it must be the first publication of original research result. That means it should be the very first research article based upon that work. So whenever your research article has been accepted, means what? You have contributed something to the scientific society. Next one, in a journal or other source, document readily available within the scientific communication is nothing but the research paper. Okay. Now, when we are talking about journal, how to understand this particular process? Which journal? The many a times researcher failed to identify the correct journal. Now, which journal? First of all, journal should have the online publication. Very important. If you have able to publish the research article through online publication mode only, then only whatever you have did has been accepted internationally. Whatever you have made in offline mode will not at all be considered under your CV, resume, or no one can recognize you as a doctor, though you are able to convert your salutation from Mr. or Mrs. or Miss from doctor. So to gain the proper respect with the salutation called as doctor, you must have the proper peer-reviewed journal papers, and they supposed to be done only via the online publication mode. Second one, journal should have the online submission system. Okay, so that is very important parameter. Now see, which journal, how to identify? The first one, the peer reviewed one. Peer reviewed one means what? After submission of your research article, it will be submitted to the reviewers from different countries. Okay, those who are having the expertise in that particular domain, and where only research content will be shared with them. They are not about to share your affiliation, names, who you are. There will be a no identity regarding the authors. Okay, only there will be a suggestion, there will be a remarks from the reviewing committee, reviewers rather, to the unknown author, and that is what called as peer review. Next one, indexing system. If something is indexed, just like hallmark gold versus normal gold, which one would you like to prefer? It is but obvious that you will go for the hallmark one. So in research scientific community, there is some indexing. So the very important indexing is just like SCI, Scopus, Google Scholar, Thomson Router. So there are many sort of indexing that we must able to understand. Indexing means what? Say suppose for the technical is what we can say the community, there are some typical journals, there is some typical indexing. For the science, for the arts, for the commerce, there are some typical what we can say indexing system that we have to understand. Next one, we are much what we can say, we are much affiliation towards the impact factor. Impact means what? As word itself suggests the story, impact means what? It is having the strong influence among the society, the scientific society rather. And at the end, the document should be having some DOI and ISSN number. My dear friend, as we are purchasing the piece of land from some landowner, at that time, there will be some government registration, and that registration will have some typical numbering system. Okay, index 12, you might be, okay, well known about. So that particular index 2, index what we can say 8A, 7 by 12 sort of documentation are nothing but the unique identification related to the pocket or the piece of land you have purchased from the landowner. Similarly, when we are publishing something, at that time that document should have some unique identification number, and that is nothing but the DOI. When we are talking about any journal, it should have some typical ISSN number. What does it mean? That we will see in coming slide. So when we are talking about the authentication, the very first one is the SCI, Science Citation Index. Here the community from the science will able to just consider such a reviewed, what we can say, peer reviewed journals which has been published with SCI with some greater affinity. They will respect that particular research because that has been thoroughly reviewed. It is having the innovative insight inside it. So when we are talking about the DOI, it is nothing but the digital object identification number. Okay, your research article will be considered or will be known by knowing this DOI number only. Next one, ISSN, it is International Standard Serial Number. Means what? Any journal is publishing some typical issues or the volumes every quarterly, every monthly, every what we can say week. Then at that time it's supposed to have some ISSN number. And the next one, ISBN, it is related to the book. So international standard for the book number. So these particular numbers, if available with your articles, then and then only you can say that they are authentic. And so whatever you are writing should be of that much quality that they're supposed to be get categorized under SCI, DOI, ISSN or ISBN. When we are talking about the next one, what is peer review? What is peer review means what? Yes, I have already given you some idea. It is nothing but the critical assessment of the manuscript submitted to the journals by the expert who are not part of the editorial board. Editorial board means what? There is one typical editorial board who is taking care of only publication, only formatting, only publication of that particular article. But the reviewers are apart from that particular group. They are none to do with that particular thing. So there should not be any monetary transaction in between the editorial board and the author to avoid that particular concerns, to avoid that particular way of cheating. There are the reviewers, those who are not the part and parcel of that team. The peer review helps the editor decide which manuscripts are suitable for their journals and helps authors and editors to improve the quality of the research. So it is the equal responsibility of the writer or the author alongside with the reviewer, alongside with the editor, that they have to uplift the quality, the recognition of the journal to some new extent or the height. And that is the reason it is called as peer review. And at the end, a peer reviewed journal submit most of its published research article for outside review. Outside review means what? If I am submitting my paper from India, it will be definitely not entertained inside the India. The reviewers will be from outside the India, and that is the way with which the journals are respecting the quality research work. Now see, this is one of the journal innovative infrastructure solution. So see this particular website link springer.com journalचा त्याचा number आहे. And at the same time, for authors, there is one typical tab, submit manuscript. If I go with this, okay, they have given the submission guidelines, language editing services, ethics and disclosures, open access fees and funding, and contact the journal. So these particular tabs are available at every peer reviewed journal. Okay, at least few of them, which are much required before going for the submission of the manuscript. So that is what we are interested in terms of the online submission. So now we will discuss about the impact factor, how to calculate it. Now, how to calculate the impact factor? Impact factor means what? Say suppose in 2021 to 22, there are some typical number of paper has been published. Say suppose in 2000 in number, and in 2021 and 22, out of that published papers, few papers has been cited by other researchers, those who are working with the same domain, with the same theme. Say out of the every 1000, okay, say suppose in 21 there were 1000 papers, out of that 1500 were cited. Similarly for the 22, so the paper published will be in total 2000, and the paper cited out of that 2000 will be 1000. So 1000 divided by 2000 will be the impact factor. Now try to understand, suppose this 2000 paper has been cited by the many people, say suppose it has been cited by 5000 and 5000. So this 1000 paper has been cited by 5000 different people, this 1000 will be by 5000 different people, then this summation will be the 10,000. So 10,000 divided by 2000, what will be the answer? It is 5. So the 5 means what? The best journal, the impact factor is having 5, means that particular journal was indexed very highly at the quartile 1. And that is the reason when we are talking about the impact factor, it is not related to the journal in which many paper has been published, but it is related to the papers from any journal which has been cited many number of times by different people during their different research article. And that is what all about the impact factor. So impact factor assigned by the Thomson Reuters is internationally accepted, and they are calculating this impact factor with this formula. Now, source normalized impact factor per paper, SNIP. Now, here what we are expecting under this, it measures the contextual citation impact by the weighting the citation based upon the total number of citation in a subject field. What does it mean? chemistry, one typical paper, how many people from the chemistry itself cited that paper. So that is source normalized impact per paper. So it provides the alternative values that bibliometrician can use to create the more what we can say refined and the objective analysis. That is the people from same domain, how many times they are referring to your paper. Okay. Next one, SCImago journal ranks. So this we have to understand now. Now SJR, my dear friend, this SJR means what? SCImago journal rank. So this S, J and R. This SJR is the prestige matrix based upon the idea not all the citation are the same. So always to remember, I am citing anyone's paper only for the sake that his or her citation should be increased. But my relevance related to that ongoing research article is not in line with the paper I have cited. So this is called as improper citation. What does it mean? Say suppose I am a good friend of Munde sir. Okay, Munde sir has published one paper in geography and I am working in civil engineering. I am working with the landslide. If his paper is adding some value to my ongoing research in terms of the landslide study, then it will be considered as a prestigious journal citation. But if only for the sake of understanding that Munde sir is supposed to help me in improving my citation, the H index and I index, then if we are going to cite each other's paper is not at all ethical one, and that is what the meaning of HGR. So SCImago uses a 3-year citation for the last 3 years. They are considering from the civil engineering, how many civil engineering research articles has been cited the earlier paper. And that is what the SCImago journal rank. Now next one, indexing. There are many types of indexing. The very first is Web of Science. Note it down. It is excellent one. The second one, Scopus. It is good. Google Scholar. It is satisfactory. It is not at all what we can say suggested by anyone. You have to go at least for Scopus, but I will suggest that minimum 2 will be from Web of Science during your PhD and minimum 2 from the Scopus. Why? Because after PhD there will be a, yes, what we can say, the period where we are not working hard on research. So at this particular end itself, you have to generate as many as possible the research article, because it will take minimum 1.5 years, okay, since you have submitted it to the S journal. And so this will able to just cover your period when you are enjoying your PhD. After immediate PhD, no one would like to go for the research. So it is always better before PhD itself, you have to submit at least 6 to 8 research articles to the different journals, so that you can able to convert them into the good journals after getting or receiving your PhD degree as well. Next one, there are two concepts, H index and I index. Before selecting a journal, we must be able to understand what do you mean by H index, what do you mean by I index. So we will see quickly what do you mean by H index. Now see, in H index, it is a metric used to measure the productivity and citation impact of a researcher. What does it mean? Productivity and citation impact of researcher. Say suppose I have published the 10 papers. Okay, among these 10 papers, 4 most cited papers have been cited. Okay, that is 4, 7, 9, 10 times respectively. In this case, the researcher's H index will be 4, because out of 10 paper, the 4 papers have been cited, okay, by at least 4 times. So this H index is nothing but I have 10 paper on my name. Out of that 10 paper, only 4 papers has been cited by the different researcher. The first paper has been cited by 4 times. Second paper has been cited by 7 times. The third one is cited by 9 times, and the fourth one is cited by 4 times. So I can able to say that my all 4 papers were cited minimum for 4 times, and so my H index will be 4. So this is nothing but the H indexing. 10 पैकी 4 पेपरला citation मिळालं, त्यातलं कमीत कमी citation म्हणजे माझा H index असतो. Very simple to understand. So the researcher whose paper you are about to cite should have the good H index, so that you can able to utilize the correct, or we can say appropriate research article while reviewing them in literature. Second one, I-10 index. It is a metric specifically used in Google Scholar measure. Okay, Google Scholar to measure the number of publication by an author that have crossed at least 10 citation. What does it mean? I have 15 paper publication. Out of that, 8 papers have been cited more than 10 times. So my researchers I10 index is 8. 10 पेक्षा जास्त वेळा माझ्या टोटल पेपर मधले किती पेपर साईट झालेले आहेत त्याला I10 इंडेक्स म्हणायचं. सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द H and I10 index. Now, research publication is a team efforts. Okay, before that, I would like to share something related to the quartile. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So my dear friend, as sir at very beginning told me to share with you something about the quartiles. There are 4 quartiles. What does it mean by quartiles? जसं आपण x आणि y axis ला प्लस साइन मध्ये केल्यानंतर Q1 आपण म्हणतो प्लस 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 मायनस 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 प्लस. This sort of yes sign conventions are there. Similarly, there will be a 4 parts. So there are 4 parts: Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So Q1 means what? These are generally made for the journals. They are classified into the quartiles based upon the impact factor, as I already told you. Okay. The second one and the other matrix means what? SGI and all other, which assess their influence and the quality in the academic community. Okay. So the quartile ranking is derived from the database like Scopus, journal citation reports, and it helps to evaluate the relative standing of the journal in its specific field. Now see Q1. Q1 means what? Internationally, among the scientific society, the first top 25 journals will be considered under Q1. Okay, if you could able to publish your research in Q1 means what? You are among the top 25 scientific community personalities. So they typically have the highest impact factors. मगाशी मी सांगितलं तसं. And consider the most prestigious. The journals often receive the high volume of citation, publish influential research, maintain the strict peer review process, and the example is Nature and Science. If after this today's session, among your end, if anyone can able to publish the paper in Nature or Science, kindly let me know. I would like to felicitate him on my personal behalf, because it is very difficult to publish the paper in Nature or Science, and that is the reason if you could able to publish, that means you have did the very wonderful fabulous word in the research domain. So that is what the meaning of the Q1. Second one, Q2. Here we are having the journals still highly regarded but have moderately high impact factor. So the impact factor will be the next concern. Third one, Q3, it is 50 to 75%. Okay, here these journals have a lower impact factor compared to the Q1, Q2, but still contribute to the academic community. Means what? UG, PG, okay, researcher can able to write something in this particular domain. Next one, the bottom 25, these are the beginner story. Okay, so journals in the bottom 25 of their category, these journals tends to have the low impact factor and less competitive. So my dear friend, if you are not able to publish the paper among this Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 quartiles, that means that you have did nothing for, or you are did nothing in this particular process of your PhD. So my dear friend, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, these are nothing but the quartiles: 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, and 75 to 100. Now, these are nothing but the categories, these are nothing but the journals from where we can establish our recognition. Now try to understand, if you have to dream, you have to dream big. And so the Q1 should be targeted, then only it will be get published up to Q3 or Q4. If you are targeting Q4, that means you are unable to publish anything, any single sentence through your research work. So that is what we are interested in. So research publication is a team effort. There are 4 members. The very first, the journal itself. We have to identify the correct journal. If you fail to identify the correct journal, we are not able to just produce the quality work. The second one, authors. Always do remember to due regard to all the senior faculties present in this particular what we can say the session, authors must have the same domain. Author must able to contribute something while producing such as peer-reviewed journals, articles. If they are only putting their name for the sake of their what we can say egos, their what we can say the cash or the promotional activities, it is none of anyone's business, because it is not at all ethical one. So the journals and the authors should be genuine one. Next one, the reviewer. This is not in our hand. As journal is a quality, reviewer will definitely will be the giving their best out of their reviews, and their reviews are nothing but the ladder towards our life success. If they are critically reviewed you, if they are just simply straightforwardly they have mentioned that your paper is not up to the mark, they mean that we have to improve our side. We not supposed to be get depressed. We have to learn out of that particular suggestion remarks, and we have to improve the article, and then we have to submit it to the next journal, as this journal will never ever entertain with the same theme. So that is what we are interested in. And the last one is the publication house, where it actually gets registered, where it will get the indexing, where it get the numbering, and then it will be available to the society or the public in scientific society. So this is all the team effort. So all these particular 4 stakeholders should have the common vision and mission, then only that particular article will be get published. ऑथरला वाटतंय माझी PhD व्हावी म्हणून मी जर्नल मध्ये पेपर टाकतोय, ते तुमचा रिव्ह्यू झाला, तुमचा स्वतःचं विजन मिशन झालं, ते जर्नलचं विजन मिशन नाहीये. सो थीम should be matched with the journal. Reviewers you are about to get is nothing but what we can say we have to finger cross during this particular process, because many reviewers will take what we can say minimum 6 to 8 months for the Q1 sort of journal, and that is the reason whenever we are submitting the publication in Q1 journal, we have to start working it from the day 1 of the PhD enrollment. Then only you could able to convert it into the 3-year span, into the publication up to 2 Q1 quartile journals at the end of your PhD. So that is what the much important parameter. Next one, the types of research paper. The very first is research or technical paper we are interested in, my dear friend. The second one is the review paper. In review paper, what we are doing, as we have stated the problem statement, we have to collect as many papers as possible related to our theme, and we have to convert every single PDF, that is the one single research article, into one single sentence. If you able to produce the impactful sentence based upon one research article, you could able to write a review paper, because writing review paper is very typically difficult. म्हणजे काय करायचं आहे, एका रिसर्च पेपर पासून एक वाक्य बनवता येणं म्हणजे रिव्ह्यू पेपर लिहिता येणं. म्हणजे एका पॅरेग्राफ मध्ये 5 वाक्य असतील तर तुम्ही जवळपास तेवढे 5 च्या रिलेटेड नंबर ऑफ पेपर्स तुम्ही रिव्ह्यू केलेत. म्हणजे एका रिव्ह्यू पेपर पूर्ण असेल तर त्याच्यात किती पेपर रिव्ह्यू केलेले असतात, कमीत कमी 600 ते 800, तर तुमचा तो रिव्ह्यू पेपर तयार होतो. सो डू ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, रिव्ह्यू पेपर इज नॉट अ कप ऑफ टी. मेनी अ टाइम्स पीपल से दॅट डायरेक्टली गो फॉर द रिव्ह्यू पेपर, मागं काय झाले ते लिहा आणि त्याच्यातनं काहीतरी शोधून काहीतरी लिहा, बट that will be get published in, luckily if you are fortunate, in quartile 4. Q1 sort of work never ever get published, such a work, if it is not appropriately drafted. तिथं पण होतात रिव्ह्यू पेपर Q1 ला पण, but the limitation or the constraint related to it is nothing but you have to draft a paper in a one single sentence. Technical one, the next one, the technical note or the letter to the editor. My dear friend, it will be also considered as a research paper. If you are reviewing one research article, if that particular research article, is having some lacuna, then if you are able to correct it, if you are able to support that particular research article with additional work from your end, in terms of the technical note, in terms of the letter to the editor, it is also considered as a research paper. Next one, short communication. If you are aware about that particular topic and if you are able to communicate with that editor related to the topic, and you could able to add something in percentage, say suppose 10-15% to that research article, it will be also noted as research paper. Discussion on article, if any paper is there, if it is having some concerns that needs to be discussed thoroughly for the better understanding of the scientific community, that is also considered as a research paper. Closure of the article means what? If any paper found to be, yes, what we can say, some typical concerns, okay, and that's just not supposed to be spread among the community, then that is nothing but the closure of the article. That is also considered as a research paper, but for that there should be the high-end expertise required. And the erratum means what? Mistakenly someone has published, someone has reviewed the paper and it has get published, and but if you could able to find some bugs inside it, and if you could able to communicate it with the editorial office, and if they agreed on it, then that erratum is also considered under your research paper. Now see, so this is what we have to understand under the different types of research paper. Apart from research and technical paper, you could able to have some of these particular titles on your name, but for that you have to at least review 3 to 4,000 research article, then only you can say confidently that you are the expert from that domain. Now, popular research publication houses indexed by Thomson Router. Now see, when we are talking about this, we have to understand the various journals, okay, and the publication houses alongside it. So the very first is Elsewhere. For all branches we can utilize it. Then Springer, for all branches it is available. Then IEEE, it is basically for electrical electronics student. Then SAYS for all branches. Willy for all branches. ASME, these are for the civil and mechanical. World Scientific for all branches. Then Versita for all branches, and the De Gruyter all branches. So you may take the snap of this. These are nothing but the publication houses where you have to try, where you have to knock the door for publication for Q1 or Q2 S article. Then Technopress, this for civil. Next one, author's responsibility. Before writing something, you must be aware about the ethical responsibilities that we have to observe. If you could able to observe the ethical responsibility, then only your research article will be highly appreciated. The very first, ensure the work is new and original research. Okay, so never ever try to get into hurry that you are in need of research article to be get published only for the sake of piece of paper called as degree of the doctorate. Never ever go for that. Ensure that whatever you are trying to publish should be new and the original one. Then all authors listed on manuscript are aware of submission. What does it mean? Say suppose I, Professor Munde, few of yours team, if among four, if you are publishing something, and as I am out of your what we can say box, as I am a professor of engineering, if say suppose you have put my name mistakenly, or you have considered that सरांचं नाव टाकलं तर चालते, आपण त्यांना परत सांगू, that is not at all allowed. So the all authors listed on a manuscript are aware of the submission, because there might be some communication, there might be some words which may hurt any community, any society, any researcher, and after that there might be the legal dispute. So there should be the agreement among the authors, there should be the consent from the authors related to the content, related to the support for the submission. Next one, the publication must give appropriate credit to all the authors for the roles in the research. Okay, that means here we have to show the gratitude. If more than one person contributes significantly, the decision of which names are listed as a co-author should reflect the relative contribution of the various participants in the research. This is as simple as it is. The contribution will decide the role and the position among the authorship. Third one, agree that the manuscript can be examined by the anonymous reviewers. That we have to agree at very beginning, that particular fellow is not knowing to you, so he will be give the critical review in that sense. Provide the copies of related work submitted or published elsewhere. If you have published such a work earlier to anywhere else, you have to give that copies as well, because they might be considered as a self-plagiarize. Next one, obtain the copyright permission if figures tables needs to be reproduced. That is very much important, because no one can able to use your figures and tables once it is get published. For that there should be the requirement of the copyright permission. Include the proper affiliation, because affiliation matters a lot. While pursuing the PhD, you are a research scholar, though you are working for any community, any organization, any corporate sector, or any academic institute. So here you have to consider the affiliation very appropriately. There are journals those who allows you to go with the many or the multiple affiliation. Say suppose I am a research scholar, but at the same time I am working with the PCCOER as a head. That affiliation I can able to add with. New findings and should be presented in the context of the previous research. So there should be a correlation theories, so that one can easily identify the new findings out of this study. And the end, the work of the others should be fairly represented. So there should be a justice, there should be a proper citation to avoid the plagiarism related to the others' work or the sentences that you have been copied in terms of referring to your findings. Next, editors and reviewers responsibility we must be able to understand, so that if there is a delay, to whom we have to contact. For that reason we must be able to understand their responsibility as well. The very first, keep the manuscript confidential. That means they will never ever let you know to whom your article has been submitted for review. Not to misuse the ideas or text of the submitted manuscript. So always believe that there is a spiritual energy at universe, so no one can able to just copy your idea and they can get some benefit out of it. There are some ethical concerns, and so editor and reviewers are keeping that idea as a novel one. They are not working on it. Transmit the information to the authors in a timely fashion. So there should be the proper communication from the editor's end, editorial office rather, related to your publication. If you are not getting, means what? There is no proper channel to publish your journal article. You have to withdraw it. Declare any conflict of interest. Say suppose I am working at my MSc Geography, my ME Construction Management, whatever my degree is there, in a group, and I am reproducing that work as my PhD work, then there should be not be any conflict among my earlier teammate from the project. And that is the reason there should be a clear declaration from that particular fellow student, those who worked with you in earlier projects. That is what the conflict of interest. Now, what are the ethical violations that we will see, and then we will move to the next point. The very first is the plagiarism. Using the ideas or the word of another person without giving appropriate credit is called as plagiarism in simple language. So never ever use the word or the phrases or the sentences or table figures as it is. There should be some typical understanding why you are need to use that particular thing, and that you have to mention in your own language. Self plagiarism, many a times the whatever you have published earlier which is not published yet may be considered as a self plagiarism. Okay, so always do remember, you have to submit your research article at a single time at a single location only. So the word for word copying beyond the short phrases or 6 to 7 words of others should be cited or credited. Do always remember, if there are the word to word copying or 6 or 7 words of that sentence has been copied as it is, should be cited or credited, then only plagiarism will be removed. Otherwise it will be it will be caught under the plagiarism. Whether published or unpublished, and whether it has been written work, an oral presentation or material on website, whatever you are doing at that time, you have to give the due respect to the that particular fellow who credited, or what we can say, who generated, created that particular research work. Now, next one. Fabrication and falsification of research result are serious forms of misconduct. Fabrication means what? I have already told you. Say suppose there is one table, okay, say we are talking about the watershed, okay, and watershed, it is a 7th order watershed. Say suppose we are talking about the Savitri watershed of Mahad, it is 7th order. Now there will be definitely the change in terms of the streamline, its length, and that is the reason if someone has did the study on water Savitri watershed, I am already aware that the watershed is of the 7th order, I will keep it as it is, but I will change only the stream number and the stream length. That is nothing but the fabrication or falsification. Duplicate publication means what? Researchers should not publish the same article in two different journals at a single time. That is duplicate publication. If it is unethical to release to the media scientific information contained in an accepted manuscript prior to the publication. What does it mean? You have submitted one research article to the journal. At the same time, you are in very much hurry to just publish your work with society, and you are giving the media note, you are conducting the press, you are just going with viral with the videos on social media. That is what? Unethical. Next, conflict of interest. All authors listed on manuscript are aware of the submission and agree with the content and support submission. Support submission means what? If there is a publication fee, say suppose $1,000, all four need to be contribute in that particular sense. Afterwards, there should not be conflict among that publication fee. So sort of things are there. Ethical violation. Now see, these are nothing but the ethical violation. Every journal is having their ethical violation related rules and regulation. So whenever you are submitting the research article to any journal, you must be well aware about the ethical violation first. Okay, so this is all about the ethical violation. I will share this particular content with the sir. He will share with you all. So you have to go with this particular ethical violation. Next, to always remember, God is very great. Universe is spiritually touched, and sooner or later, whatever ethically or unethically you are doing, that will be get exposed on one fine day. Satya chupaya nahi chupta. And that is the reason when we are worried about the research article, we have to learn up to this part. Okay, so action against ethical violation. The very first, information received from the reviewers or other editors, literature search for the related papers by the author, withdrawal of the paper from the publication. For serious cases, banning authors from publication in the journal for 3 to 5 years, and for less serious cases, placing the author on watch list. So these are the concern. If you are following the PhD norms, you have to worry about the ethical violation. Never ever get trapped into such a ethical violation. Otherwise, there will be a serious, what we can say, actions nowadays the scientific community is taking, and that is the reason, many a times there are the, what we can say, the clone journals are available in market. They are going with some different domain or the browser link, and they are cheating the people. No peer-reviewed journal will ask you a single penny before publication. Always do remember that. Next one, reasons for rejection. So these are the reasons. First one, lack of novelty and technical part. Without having the heart, without having the soul, whether we can say the human being is alive, we never ever say. And that is nothing but the lack of novelty. If it is missing, means what? There is no heart and there is no soul. So that particular thing will be called as dead body. And so no one is interested. No one can able to nomenclate dead body. At the time, once, we can say the soul is get aparted out of the body, that human being will never ever, what we can say, address by his or her name. It will be called as dead body. So the paper which is lack in the novelty will never ever consider as a technical one. Next, if it is a routine extension of the previous paper, okay, that is also considered as what we can say scenario for the rejection. जो कल परसों था उसमें ही कुछ ज्यादा चढ़ा बढ़ा के लिखा है, that never ever addressed by any journal, not properly written. Communication is one of the skill, and I have already told you there are 4 beautiful words: knowledge, skill, behavior, and attitude. Any human being must have. If you don't have a knowledge, that means you are unable to write a paper. If you don't have a skill, you are unable to write it properly. So though you are having knowledge, but you don't have a proper skill, you are not able to convert it into the quality research article. If papers are poorly organized and illustration is of poor quality, so pixel of figures, the table, alignments, everything should be addressed very properly. And violation of ethical guidelines, that means copying some paper from IEEE and publishing it at the Q4 journal is never ever accepted. Okay, next one, consider the following when selecting a topic. From this point onwards, we have to focus much more. Sir Munde sir, will you allow me additional 15 or 20 minutes because I need that much. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So consider the following when selecting a topic. Very first, your interest. So always do remember it is not a brain baby of anyone else. It is yours. So you have to nurture it. You have to just take care of that particular baby. So whenever we are talking about the brain child, the idea is nothing but yours. And as we are just enjoying the nurturing of the child, okay, at family, where mother and father are more interested in his grown, what we can say, growing. Similarly, the PhD and the work should be nurtured by your end only. It is nothing but the responsibility 99% of the research scholar and 1% of the research guide. So your interest should be yours, not the research guide. Second one, the your level of the expertise as well as of your guide or the supervisor should have the same alignment. Alignment means what? In road we are saying that S square is square. Shape, the very first one, S stands for shape. The second one, short. The third one is EG, and fourth one is the economic. Same rule, just what we can say applicable for your research. The research should be safe one. Safe means what? You not supposed to be get trapped in terms of unavailability of data, unavailability of the equipment instrument, unavailability of the resources. So that should be the safe thing you have to look after. Short means what? There should be the time constraint. Well, within this time, I need to complete it, and if it is possible, then only go with that. Easy means what? With available resources at your institute and nearby organization, if you able to carry out that research, then it is good. If you are dependent on international collaboration, then forget about it. And the economical means what? The PhD is 3 to 4 years should be observed as what we can say the research scholar in terms of the monetary aspect as well. So it should be economic, data collection, data processing, then all other what we can say convergence, communications, traveling, conferences, everything should be economical one. So by looking towards that, the topic should be selected. Use concept that can be measured. Measured means what? Say suppose someone asked me, have you had a dinner? Have you had a breakfast? Have you had a lunch? I can blindly say that yes, I had. Are you able to inspect it? Are you able to dare to just cut my stomach and able to observe whether I really done my breakfast or not? No one can dare that because it is nothing but non-measurable. But if you ask me to share 1 lakh rupees instantly, I am unable to. I could not able to support your statement because I am not having that much money. So whatever the concept are there, they should be measurable. Okay, that should have some tangible, what we can say, constant. Topic should be relevant to your profession and subject area. Always do remember, paradharma narak saman. If you are working in geography, you're supposed to be in a geography. If you're supposed to learn something out of box like AI, ML, you are about to be get dependent. And so to avoid that, you have to learn, you have to well aware about that skill set at your own. Never ever depend upon the others because others never ever enjoy your doctorate. Next point, availability of the data and ethical issues. This we have already discussed, so we will go to the next point. Basic steps for research paper. Note it down. While starting to write a research paper, we are in need of a topic. So find a topic. How to find? So what and when sort of questions should be there. At least 10 to 50 questions should be asked in this particular WH framework. What and when. If you could able to answer, you can able to finalize the topic. Formulate the question in WH frame like what and why. If you could able to formulate the question, then that question's answer is nothing but your research article. Define the population, who and when. If you able to finalize your sample size of the study, then definitely you are what we can say the correct route to achieve your destination. Next one, select design and select design and measurement. So how to do that? How to design? How to measure? That should be well aware before get into initiate the research paper writing. Next one, gather evidences. How I can able to gather the evidences? That should be the question to you, and that you have to understand. Okay. Next one, interpret the evidence. Why? There should be a question, why? And at the end, tell about what you did and found out. That is what the conclusion part. So my dear friend, with this 7, what we can say, beautiful concept, with the questions, you can first of all start, initiate, what we can say, start or initiate to just start with the research paper. So find a topic. On very first page, you have to write the question, at least 10 to 20 question related to what. Okay. And if you are able to answer any one very appropriately, that will be, or that question will be the topic of your research. Next one, formulate questions. Is similarly, we have to formulate the question, minimum 7 to 8 question. If you could able to answer it with the different methodology, club them together, and that will give you one miraculous paper. And that is the reason we must be able to understand this particular 7 beautiful steps. Now, points needs to be considered in paper. Yes, this should be there. This is nothing but the one of the important parameter, the title, abstract, keywords, introduction, literature review, methodology, conclusions, references, and acknowledgement. See, while talking about the title should be very appropriate. Okay, when we are talking about these particular 9 parameters, starting from the first title up to acknowledgement, there should be the proper scenario that we have to address. Now we will start with one by one. Novelty of work should reflect from the title. Do remember, बस नाम ही काफी है. With this particular phrase, we have to start drafting the research article. Okay, many a times there is a solution. If you are, yes, get into trouble, and if you are well aware, if you are familiar with some of the politicians, some of the IS officer, IPS officer who is having very great ethical base, and if you could able to just only share his or her name, the problem is get resolved well within fraction. That is nothing but the meaning of novelty of work should reflect from the title. So how to reflect it? The very first, make your title specific enough to describe the contents of the paper. So specific enough means what? There should be a list words, integrating them, it should reflect your idea, but not so technical that only specialists will understand. Say, I am working in a landslide, but the typical geographical context has been utilized by Munde sir in his paper. Then I am unable to identify whether I could able to cite this article, whether I could able to go through this article, whether I could able to search for this article. I never ever able to search. How I will search? I will put the in Google Scholar the landslide as a keyword. Whatever the research articles are there, I am able to review them. I am able to cite them. But for landslide, if there is any technical phrase in your geographical consent, if it is there in a title of Munde sir's paper, I could not able to review or recite that. And that is the reason there should not be barrier among the specialists. So geography people can able to review the civil engineers paper. Civil engineers paper can be reviewed by the, yes, geographical paper. Next one, the title should be appropriate for the intended audience. Okay, there should be object, and the object is to serve some typical community or the society. And that is the reason the intended audience should able to find the title appropriate. The title usually describes the subject matter of the article. Subject matter of the article means what? In nutshell, we are summarizing the complete work in 10 to 12 words. Next one. Now see how the paper has been made available. The society has honored Madsami Akroximis PhD in engineering, fellow of ASC, and the Prakash A. Arman with the 2023 award for their paper. The very first, this 2023's best paper award was given to him. The paper title we have to understand. The very first, behavior, comma, performance and evaluation of pre-stressed concrete, comma, steel pipe, steel edge pile to pile cap connections. Practice Periodical on Structural Design and Construction, May 22. So this paper is there. Now try to understand this particular article, how it is having some typical importance. For the top paper, okay, this is nothing but the State of Art Civil Engineering Award honors the top publication. Now, when I'm talking about this, why I have shown that particular paper? Because see the words behavior. So try to understand. They are about to review the behavior of something. आता कशाचं ते आपल्याला पुढे मिळतंय का बघूया. Performance. They are also about to investigate, evaluate, analyze, examine the performance, and they are talking about the pre-stressed concrete, steel pipe, and H pile to pile cap connection. So they are working on the pile cap connection based upon this material, and they are studying the material with this particular three beautiful words: behavior, performance, and evaluation. This will allow me to understand. So I am a geotechnical engineer. I am interested in pile cap. If I am a structural engineer, I am interested in pre-stressed concrete. If I am the person who is interested in behavior, performance, and evaluation of some parameters, I will able to study this particular paper, as it is very novel in terms of title. So the title should be appropriate for the intended audience. That is what the meaning behind it. Now we will go to the next point. Abstract. Note down this. Abstract should be 100 to 250 words only. Now, abstract means what? No one have the time, the free time. The one who is a genuine researcher, he will go through the title, he will go through the abstract, and he will go through the conclusion. If there is a correlation in between the title, abstract, and the conclusion, then only he will start going through your article. Otherwise, he will discard your article as it is. He never ever go through your article. And there is one typical fundamental concept called as drafting of the abstract with minimal words, say suppose in between 100 to 250. This is again based upon the journal's requirement. Now, here we have to state about the object. Secondly, the approach with which we are about to achieve this object, and give the summary of the result and the conclusion drawn in one paragraph. So abstract is a concise summary of the whole paper and should briefly state the objective along with its approach, along with the summary of the result, along with the conclusion in one single paragraph, my dear friend. So there should be only one full stop. Always do remember, when we are talking about this 100 to 250 word, when we are talking about the sentences, there should be minimal sentences. There should be minimal full stops, so that well within that 10 to 15 sentences, I could able to conclude with whether I have to go to the next point, that is conclusion. So this allows the other scientists to quickly scan the large scientific literature and decide which articles they want to read in depth. This is very important. Don't use abbreviation. Always do remember, if someone introduce me as a Dr. SSB, no one can identify me as Dr. Sudarshan Bobade. And that is the reason whenever we are writing at initial level, it should be in the full form. Afterwards, after that particular full form, there should be in bracket Dr. SSB. Then only afterwards, anyone who is reading that article can able to correlate with Dr. SSB is nothing but Dr. Sudarshan Bobade. And that is the reason when we are talking about the abbreviation, they should not be allowed in abstract or in title. So keywords, keyword 1, keyword 2, keyword 3. Do always remember, these keywords are nothing but the way with which you have defined your objective and you have achieved it with the innovative or the novel approach. So these are the keywords. So try to understand this particular, yes, abstract of this particular paper. When we are talking about this particular paper, large scale full coverage traffic, okay, ASC library. Now see, abstract for both travelers and traffic operation centers, especially under extremely large traffic volume, full coverage traffic state monitoring of a major corridor is urgently needed. See the length of the sentence and the number of commas or the punctuation they have mentioned. So likewise, we have to mention. Then see phone count PC. Next one, the extract phone speed. Okay, easy deployment. So along with that, they have mentioned something related to, yes, the outcome or the result. The result suggests that the proposed cellular based system can be alternative and supplement solution for monitoring the various practical states. Now, as there is a what we can say interest of any reader, say suppose I am interested in paper, I am interested because they have only talked about the result in terms of the what we can say the phrase. They have not mentioned anything in terms of the digits. So I will definitely try to read this article thoroughly. If I could able to convert that particular reader to read my complete article, there will be an addition in the read count, and that is also one of the important parameter. There are the concern related to the number of downloads, there is a concern related to number of reads, and there is a concern related to number of citation. So always do remember, the as many people as you can able to force them to read your complete article will just suggest you to just convert them into the citation. Next point is the introduction. My dear friend, introduce means what? At the time of marriage, we are preparing the biodata. In biodata, we are drafting everything, name, okay, all the what we can say horoscope matching related details, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your relatives, your property, everything. What does it mean? I can able to correlate that with the history. So introduction should have the historical background, that whatever has been done in this particular sector, in this particular domain, should be well aware to the readers. Then what are the lacunas? That should be well aware. How that can be overcome? That should be well aware. And the current scenario and the current updates that needs to be mentioned over there. And at the end, there should be, yes, we can say this particular third point, that is define the objective of the problems considered in the present study in detail, like contribution, statement of problem, purpose of research, and the significance of research. This is nothing but the introduction. So while talking about this, try to understand what question did you ask in your paper, why it is interesting. The introduction summarizes the relevant literature so that reader will understand why you were interested in that question you asked. So include the details regarding the research done by the various researchers in the last few decades with proper citation of references. Last few decades, not in last few years. Next one, include the contribution of various researchers in last 4 to 5 years. It is related to the current updates. So in this, I can able to cite the 1967 paper. In this, I can able to cite the paper starting from 21-22. Define the objectives. As we have seen, we have to note down the contribution, statement of problem, purpose of research, significance of research in very appropriate way. So this is the way with which we have to write the introduction in 1 to 2 pages. Now, general rules for introduction. The very first, use the present tense. My dear friends, many times the authors made the mistake. We have to use the present tense only in the terms of drafting for the introduction. So when referring to the work that has already been published, but past tense when referring to your own study. Okay, next one, avoid the lengthy or unfocused reviews of the previous research. Okay, so never ever get into the trouble by just adding such a lengthy or unfocused reviews. Cite the peer-reviewed scientific literature or the scholarly reviews. Avoid the general reference work such as, what does it mean? If I am referring to the textbook, in textbook there are many work, many researchers' work has been, yes, what we can say, combinedly published, but that is not the correct way. For everyone's single contribution, we have to salute them, we have to thank them, we have to regard them, and that is the need of time, and that is the general rule in the introduction. Define any specialized term or the abbreviation. Okay, so when we are talking about this, okay, I will share this particular file with the sir. You have to go just through these general rules for the introduction. So define any specialized term or the abbreviations. So that is what the need in terms of the introduction. Introduction should clear all sort of the abbreviation, all sort of the specialized terms or the terminology that might be the new to the any reader thereafter. Next one, formulation method or material. This is very important. This is in nutshell we can say methodology. In nutshell we can say the materials and the its SOPs. In nutshell we can say the application of the material or the formulation. So here we have to take into account some typical points. The very first, there should be enough information here to allow another scientist to repeat your experiment. Very simple. If you have did something in terms of the experimentation, there should be the crystal clear statements so that I can follow you and I can able to cross verify your work with the outcomes or the results I am getting. This means that you're not supposed to hide anything. There should not be any secrecy. If you are availing this particular knowledge to the society, there should not be any hurdle or barrier. So enough information here to allow another scientist to repeat your experiment. There should be no ambiguity. There should be no dual meaning. There should be crystal clear meaning and the sequence and the priority that one can able to follow. Next one, do not put the results into this section. It is not at all accepted. You may have, however, include the preliminary results. That means in method formulation, you're not supposed to discuss any final results. Yes, you can just able to initiate with the initial results or the preliminary results with which you can just guide the reader that because of this, I have opted this methodology. Next one, the formulation should be sequential and details. My dear friend, this is very, very important. Whatever we are writing, it should have some typical priority and the sequence. If it is not there, that means there is lacuna, there is some gaps, there is some misrepresentation. That might be the intention, that might be the human error, that might be due to your, what we can say, lacking in the expertise in drafting the research article. So sequence is much important, and at the end, if you could able to convert the methodology in mathematical format, experimental format, computational format, that will be highly appreciated by the reader, reviewer, publication house and the journal. Why? Because you are generating something out of this methodology in terms of the mathematical, experimental and computational mode, and that is what is required. So it should take at least 5 to 6 pages. Try to understand, if I am writing something in that much detail up to 5 to 6 pages, no one can dare to reject your research article. Why? Because you have thoroughly mentioned step by step each and every single tiny detail in a such a fashion that one can able to draft the research article very easily. And that is the reason, yes, we can supposed to allow others to use your methodology, your think process in that particular regard. So never ever hide anything. Just like in front of doctor, advocate or policeman, we have to be open. Similarly, in the research article, we have to be very open-minded so that one can able to understand the actual thought process behind this particular drafting of the research article. Next one, the numerical results and discussion, very important parameter. Many times we are doing mistake in it. This is where you present the results you have got. Use the graphs and tables if appropriate, irrespective of whether you are from the science domain, arts domain, commerce domain, technical domain, but you must be able to represent your finding outcomes with very beautiful, very precise and concise, very crystal clear, neat and clean graphs, tables having appropriate scales, legends, and whatever the information you are putting into it, they should be appropriately placed and formulated. There should be the proper font size. One can easily access that particular font, okay, with the naked eye. And that is the reason, use the graphs and tables if appropriate. Next one, discuss the results or the speculate as to why something happened. If there is some typical element you have added, if there is some typical step or methodology you have added, and what is the significant impact in terms of the final outcome, if you able to mention that, if you could able to share with that with everyone in detail, that will be highly appreciable. Why? Because I know that, say suppose I am supposed to be having some pains in my stomach, and there might be 10 to 15 reasons why I could have the stomach pain. If I have mentioned that with this particular intake, you could have this much symptoms, this sort of symptoms, and this might be the reason. So sort out 10 to 15, what we can say the basic parameter and their pairs, if I could able to explore under it, then definitely one can able to go with your research article. So discuss the result or speculate as to why something happened. Speculation is very much important, where we Maharashtrian people are generally fails. Okay, speculation something means what? You have to give the weightage, you have to give the emphasize, you have to focus on it, so that I could able to understand what is the actual discussion you want to made over there. Next one, methods of presenting the result: directly in the text, the very first method. Secondly, in a table, in a figure. All figures and table must be accompanied by the textual presentation of the key finding, and never have a table or figure that is not mentioned in the text. Do always remember, this is the very important parameter. Many times we are mentioning that as per the table number so and so, as per the figure number so and so, and it is missing in a journal or the article we are drafting. So that should not be happen. So there are the ways with which we can able to present the result. In the text, it is but obvious we are in need of table. Whatever we are put in table, that should not be in a figure. Okay, whatever we are representing through figure, that should not be in table. Why? Because we have to utilize optimal space. There is a restriction for the number of pages. If you are exceeding it, you have to pay more for the publication house, and that is the reason we have to limit ourselves that whatever we are presenting over there, that should be in one single format. One single format means what? You can use the table for some typical data. You can use the figure for some typical data. You can use the drafting to represent this table and figure. So always do remember, whatever there in table, that should not be repeatedly mentioned with the figure again. That is what I meant to say. Next one, figures. Very important parameter once again. Figure should be checked carefully before submission. Check for the font size, axis level, identification of the individual traces. Avoid the meaningless numbers. Many times we made mistake while utilizing the soft computing tools on laptop, desktop, and we are not able to correctly draw the figures. There are some misrepresenting individual traces that we have to remove. Clarity is much important. Move the additional or the repetitive figure to supporting the information. That is what we are in need of. Next one, the tables. There are some typical, yes, what we can say, notes or the notation we are supposed to keep into mind. Tables are appropriate for the large or the complicated data sets that would be difficult to explain clearly in text. So where to go with table? When there is a large data set, when there is a complication in terms of mentioning them, because in series of the 10 readings, in between the 10 readings at 6 or 7, there is a problem at the time of the what we can say the standard readings we are expecting against what we have got, and that is the reason we have to put that particular 10 readings with number of rows and columns, whatever it may be, 10 by 10, 20 by 20. So that big table needs to be there when we are failed to mention them correctly in the appropriate language. Next, do not include both a table and figure showing the same information. I have already told you. It is the hardest section to write. Always do remember. Table, figure, data, results. This is very important and hardest one. We have to write it very interestingly so that no one can lose his or her interest to go ahead up to conclusion. Its primary purpose is to show the relationship among the observed facts. So we have to keep weaving the data and information with some typical relationship, scientific one. It should end with the short summary or the conclusion regarding the significance of the work. So my dear friend, it is very easy to write it. We have to mention, we have to keep into mind how to go with what should be the flow. Then it is definitely the very easy at the end to discuss and to convert it into the conclusion. So conclusion in nutshell, when we are talking about, we supposed to convince the other party, the reader, indirectly, and convincing power should be high at our end. If we are unable to convince him with the methodology obtained, with the results came, with the data interpreted, then that paper will lose its weightage in that section itself. So whatever you have did till now will be highly appreciated if you could able to convert it with the healthy discussion, and that is what we have to mention under the discussion. Next one, the conclusion, very important parameter. Under conclusion, there should be the specific and relevant to your questions. Whatever the question for which you have initiated drafting the research article, they're supposed to be get answered with this particular part. And at the end, there should be free to discuss limitation of your work. Always to remember, open-heartedly, you have to accept there might be some limitation. And if you are accepting it, there will be a scope, your work will be highly cited, because by referring to your work, one can able to initiate his or her research work. So free to discuss limitation of your work is nothing but one of the skill, one of the quality every human being must have. At the end, references, we are already aware about this. Okay, when we are talking about the references is nothing but the standardized way of acknowledging the sources of information and ideas that you have used in your document. There are different format, or the what we can say the patterns or formats. Nowadays there is a Mandali software, there are the citation, bibliography citation sort of option is there in the Word doc. How to use Word effectively, the 10 minutes YouTube video will lead you towards the successful finishing of your thesis drafting. Very simple. There is no need to go with the latex. With the Word itself, if you could able to use the Word effectively, definitely you can able to draft the references very easily. There is no need. There are many types of references like API, okay, then Chicago. There are many formats. They are easily available. With the templates of the journal articles, you have to only put the data. It will be get converted into the journal directly. So there are many formats with which we can draft the journal articles. So one of the important parameters is the references. If you could able to cite the research article properly in the sequence, definitely there will be the automated references section will be populated at the end of research articles. So references is like this. Okay, references to the journal paper should include the author's name, the minimal requirement I am telling you, title of journal, year of publication, volume, issue, page number. So there might be the different formats. Say suppose, yes, initials, okay, ETAL means what? More than this. Okay, generally when more than 3, we have to go with the ETL. We can write like Bobade S, ETL. It is also appropriate as more than 3 people are involved in this particular paper. So evaluation of comparison of morphometric parameters of the Savitri watershed India. Journal is innovative infrastructure solution. Yes, this is nothing but the volume. This is nothing but the page number where it is starting. Then this is the DOI. So likewise, the references will be populated automatically nowadays. There is no need to go for the manual approach. And at Google Scholar, there is one typical double inverted comma sign I will show you. Okay, through which you can able to copy the references as it is. So this is nothing but the homework for you. You have to prepare these references. Now references of article in press. There is one typical way with which we have to reference some articles, those who are in press. Okay, say suppose I have represented Hydro 2023, the international conference at NIT Warangal. That paper is about to be get published till this November 24. But I could able to refer that right now with this particular fashion. Then process of the research publication. This is the process. First, submission of the manuscript, so that you supposed to be ready with the article. Review of the manuscript will be done at their end. They will give the decision, either accepted as it is, either rejected directly, or they will give you the revisions. If revisions are required, we have to go for the process once again. So this is the way with which we have to start with the research publication. Revision request. Always do remember, there should be a patience. If we are getting the minor, major revisions or our paper is get rejected, never get depressed. Go through the reviewer's comment very carefully, because that comment itself will allow you to improve the quality of your research article, and that research article will definitely get converted into the published one. So the reviewers and editors spend a lot of time to make the suggestion and improve the scientific quality of the paper. The author should make every effort to address their concern, because do always remember, out of their research interest only they have gone through your paper, and whatever they have made critical analysis, that we have to salute, that we have to regard. We're not supposed to use the abuse word for them. Why? Because they have not selected our paper, they have given the major correction. We have to accept it because it is for our own betterment, and this betterment will just create the miracles. Next one, revision is an opportunity to improve the scientific quality of the paper. If these issues are not addressed properly, the paper gets rejected directly without any other entertainment. Often misuse of the scientific contents or bad representation leads to misunderstanding of the statement made in the test. So revision request is there. Use supporting information to include the figures, table, derivation, movies, photographs, methods and techniques. If they are unattended, if they are uncited, if they are not properly mentioned somewhere, then they will not be anyone's use. So there will be a revision request. Then what to do when paper gets rejected? The very first, have a cup of tea or cup of coffee, go through the reviewer's remark, then try to work on it by the maximum by 2 to 3 days, in a week rather, and then just go back to the journal and submit your revision. So always do remember, we have to convert the match which is about to be lost, okay, into the, what we can say, winning memories with the additional effort. So never ever get depressed. There is scope to go for the further, what we can say, addition for the quality improvement. You can have the collaboration, you can have the suggestion from your mentors, your supervisors, and you can able to convert that rejected paper, okay, into the peer reviewed one by approaching to the same theme, same, what we can say, domain, another journal nearby to you. Next, key features of the best technical paper. How any paper can be treated as a best technical paper. So they are interested in significant contribution with the innovation, clear objective, the one who is having the clear goal, one who is having the clear vision, we can say that they can able to achieve it with the proper mission. So clear objective should be there. Literature review, I have told you, till the end, till the date of submission of the research article, you have to cite the recent articles. So literature should be like that. Methodology should be innovative. That should not be repeatedly mentioned by many other authors earlier. That we have to take into account. Then the next one, data analysis, that should be used, that should be done by the appropriate and modern tools available nowadays. Results should be mentioned very properly. Discussion should be very clear. It should give some another thought process for the another research article, and the conclusion is the heart. Draw the conclusion based upon the results and discussion. Clearly state the significance of the finding in the context of the research objective. So the objective should be touched in proper way under the conclusion title. So this is nothing but some typical parameter. Yes, the references, this is also seen very carefully by the journals. APA, MLA, Chicago sort of formats are there. Nowadays they are get easily automatically populated, so no worry about it. Clarity and coherence is much important related to the, yes, your write-up. Figures table should be of very high quality. And ethical consideration, I have already told you, in PhD ethics, your, yes, honesty and devotion is much important. So this is one of my paper presented and published in American Society of Civil Engineer. Not only this particular article has been published in the ASC, but it has been recognized under the special collection on the civil infrastructure with the smart and green life cycle by the IIT Bombay. It is having another DOI. So my research article has been published twice, the same research article, and it is having the 2 DOI. It will be counted under my title. So do always remember, do the work at your best so that you will be recognized with your work in society. So this is all about from my end. Now the session is open for the question answer, if any. Thank you so much once again for patientful listening. I hope with this particular discussion I could able to clear some of your doubts with my little knowledge available at my end. Thank you once again. to the management, the principal, the coordinator of today's event, Munde sir, and the entire team of SP College. Thank you once again. Good day.